Welcome to Power Lunch Live. I'm Rhett Power, your host. It's good to be with you here on the Power Lunch. Going to have a great conversation today, as we always do. We're going to talk about growing your revenue in this economy. Now, the point of Power Lunch Live is to have today's thought leaders, best-selling authors, people who are doing amazing work in the world that we can all learn from to get better at what we do. Now, the program is interactive. The only way that happens is if you get on Facebook, where we broadcast, LinkedIn Live, YouTube, Twitter, any of those platforms. You get on there and you ask your questions, and that way we can try to answer them. So we are on those platforms, so do pay attention. Do share or like that where you are on those platforms. Share the program if you like it. Number one, it helps your network benefit from these conversations, and it also helps us grow a little bit, which we don't hate. In fact, we like that a lot. And anyway, let's get to our conversation today. I've got Darrell Amy. Darrell is passionate about helping great companies grow revenue. He's the author of the best-selling book, Revenue Growth Engine: How to Align Sales and Marketing to Drive and Accelerate Growth. He's the host of the Revenue Growth podcast on C-Suite Radio Network, and he's the co-host of the Selling from the Heart podcast. He's a member of the Forbes Business Council and a C-Suite advisor. He's a revenue growth strategist. He gets behind the scenes, rolls up his sleeves, and helps company owners and sales leaders and marketing teams build revenue and growth strategies. Darrell, welcome.
It's great to be here, Rhett. Thanks for having me on the Power Lunch. Exciting.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to have you. I've been looking forward to this conversation because, look, we're in weird times, and I'm sure this is not the first time you've had that conversation about, the impact of the last 7 or 8 months. And so has COVID and everything that's going on in society, the economy, has it changed sort of your outlook and the way you view the world, view life, view business at all?
I think if anything, it's just turned up the volume. I'm passionate about helping great companies grow. And, before the last year, that meant kind of, keeping the curve going up. And I want companies to grow, by the way, companies that provide great career opportunities, meaningful work, and also companies that give back to the community. I mean, that to me is really exciting. Now, here's the challenge when we hit into the pandemic and the crisis. Now, a lot of companies, a good majority, they're down and to the right instead of up and to the right. And so growth now is not something that's just nice to have or good to have. And right. Growth is a necessity because coming into the new year, we're live now in the Q4 of 2020. We're all starting our plans. Coming into the new year, 2021 is going to be a make or break year for a lot of businesses. I mean, there's a seriousness and a gravity to that. And I personally believe that if our society is going to thrive, if it's going to, come out of the ditch, and the economy, sounds big, but it touches everybody in their, grocery budget. I mean, all the way on down, right? Yeah. If that's going to happen, we need revenue, and we need to get serious and creative, strategic, and focused on revenue growth in ways that maybe we haven't had to do as much when things were a little bit easier.
How do you plan? I mean, that you talked about planning. You hit on that planning aspect that a lot of people are thinking about right now. I mean, how do you plan? I mean, it's always a challenge, right? I've run businesses, and it's always a challenge to sort of look that far ahead. But I think it's really complicated now. So, I mean, how do we do that now? Are there things that we have to sort of think about in a different way?
Yeah. This is probably the number one conversation I'm having right now, especially as we're working with companies, helping them develop their growth strategies into the future, is how do we set goals? Because the number one thing on planning is I got to know what my goal is. And the thing about goals for revenue is I found that there's 2 ways that companies historically have set goals. The first one's kind of funny, but it's kind of funny in a ouch kind of way. It's the spaghetti on the wall method. We throw something out there on the wall, hope it, and we get to like August in the year and we go, oh, we're not on track for that. And no one believed in the goal in the first place because it was just, something we threw out there.
Show of hands of who's done that.
Yeah.
Raise your hand.
Right. You can give a shout out. We've all done it. And the funny thing was I was talking with a financial services company yesterday, and the owner of the company was recounting not his own company, but a previous company he'd worked for, where they did the spaghetti on the wall method. And, it was like, hey, you're good for $500,000. You can do 750, there's our goal. It was ridiculous. It was not based on reality. That type of goal setting right now is dangerous. So we can't do that. That's fantasy land, and we need goals. The other way that companies set goals is what I call the ruler method. That's where they get out the old ruler and they say, okay, you know what? We did this last year, the year before, and here's our trend, and all of that. The problem is, in the investing world, they like to say the trend is your friend. Right now, the trend is not your friend. If you went backwards, you can't continue that trend. If you skyrocketed because you sold plexiglass or face masks or whatever, learning management software, whatever, you can't go on that trend either, because it's not, that's not sustainable. So how do we set goals when spaghetti doesn't work and the ruler doesn't work? I think what you do is you go down one level and you look at the core drivers of revenue. And this is something that everyone listening in today.
Meaning what?
So here they are. There's two ways to drive revenue. And this is really simple, but it's actually very practical for setting goals. Number one, we get more customers. And number two, we sell more stuff to our current customers. So there's really, if you boil it all down, you get more new clients or you sell more to your current clients. I've found, Rhett, that most companies are usually good at one or the other, by the way. And I'm curious in the chat for those listening in, are you better at net new or are you better at cross sell? I actually have a survey going out on LinkedIn right now, just seeing, because I'm having this conversation and it's about 2-to-1 saying we're better at net new. However, I'm thinking financial services because that was on my mind from conversation with the client yesterday. For every dollar managed, Fidelity says there's $7 of potential revenue for a client. So in the IT business, we do a lot of work in technology. For every dollar in hardware, there's $10 to $15 in professional services. So, if you're going in and you're getting the $1 from your clients, you got to look and go, where's the low hanging fruit to go in and get strategic? So here's how back to goal setting though. That's where we are. So goal setting. How do we set goals? Okay. You draw a line in the sand right now or at the end of the year and say, how many customers do we have? And what's our revenue per customer right now? So, how many customers do we have? Count them up. Revenue per customer, simple math, total revenue divided by how many customers you have. There's your number, right? There's your number. And now we've got a baseline. And now in planning, we can say, okay, we've got 1,000 customers now. If we put the right systems and strategies in place, what can we do to raise that to, could we drive 20% on that? Could we drive, what could we do? And right now, if our revenue per customer, let's say our revenue per customer is $10,000 per year. If we put the right systems, strategies from a sales and marketing standpoint in place, what could we do to raise that, 20%, let's say, and then add those numbers up. It's a fun exercise. And by the way, if you want the spreadsheet to do it, you can text revenue to 21,000 and you'll find it in the Revenue Growth Toolkit. It's a fun exercise and it's a practical exercise because now we're getting down to things we can touch. How many clients do you think we can add? And what's our revenue per client? How can we grow it? And what you're going to find when you do that is you're going to find what I call an aggressive but realistic goal. Because now you've got the power of compounding, right? It's exponential. It's net new plus cross sell. And you can see the potential to grow your business by driving marginal gains in each one of those areas. And so if you're planning right now, that's my, huge recommendation and takeaway is go one level deeper to number of customers and revenue per customer and take it from there to craft your plans. We talk about that in detail in the early part of the Revenue Growth Engine book.
So one of the things that I think you're also planning for right now is marketing. Is All right. So do you look at marketing as a way, or do you look at marketing as a way to sort of acquire clients, right? And that's how I kind of see it. Does that help you craft your marketing budget too? Because you've got to figure out what it costs to acquire a new client, right? You've got to figure out that number out.
Yeah. So I look at marketing as a way to acquire revenue. And there's two ways to acquire revenue, right? So get new clients. Yes, we got to get found, get leads, get appointments. We got to move them through that cycle and support the sales process on the front end. And this is where a lot of companies miss the boat. In fact, if you want low-hanging fruit and fast revenue in most of these companies we're talking with today, it's marketing to the current client base. And in particular, I would say the cream of the crop, the ideal clients. There's a guy we all know of Vilfredo Pareto. He lived in the 1800s. He came up with that 80-20 rule, right? And so what I would say is, yes, marketing for new clients, of course. However, don't neglect your current client base in terms of what can we do from a marketing standpoint, what processes can we put in place to ensure that our clients know all the different ways they can benefit from us. As Jay Abraham would say, the highest and most value we can deliver, that they know that, and that we are white glove treating those people with an amazing experience so that they would never want to leave. And marketing plays a huge role in that. And I would say if there's one area, don't stop what you're doing to drive net new, to create leads. And I'd love to talk about leads in a minute. I get fired up about that. Don't stop that, but look look at your client base and go, wow, financial services, $1, $7 for every dollar under management. We all know the data. It's cost 10 times more to get a new customer rather than sell to a current one. Don't stop getting new customers, but get the revenue growth engine running so you've got net new and cross-sell going at the same time. And I think marketing has a massive role to play in that, especially right now, because what we're going to see, and I'm not a economic forecaster, I'm just a business guy. Guess what's going to happen? Businesses are going to go out of business next year. The ones that don't, the ones that don't have a great profit plan growth plan are going to go out of business. So there's going to be consolidation. They're going to get bought. So, if you are depending on more and more customers, the pool might get smaller. I don't know what your industry is going to look like, but all of that tells me that, yeah, we still got to go grab market share, but at the same time, we need to look at wallet share as well. And marketing plays a huge role in wallet share.
I have to say, you're absolutely spot on in terms of, we often forget that cross sale opportunity. I've had that, I've made that mistake too, thinking I've got that guy, I treat him really well. And, I forget that I have other products that I could introduce to him, right? And other things, it's like, you forget that.
I'm just chuckling because I'm by the way, just I need to fully disclose, I am a recovering sales rep. So I'm down to therapy twice a month. It's going pretty well. I actually started my career in sales 27 years ago, selling office technology to businesses. 2004, I hung out my own shingle doing a sales training business to teach those reps how to sell software. My first client said, "What you taught us was great. Our website doesn't say anything about it. Do you build websites?" I said, "Yes, sir. We build websites," and spun up a marketing agency. And so I've worked in the marketing world through, that whole web SEO, inbound marketing, account-based marketing now. And I've worked alongside in the sales development world for the last 27 years, most recently redesigning sales training for a global technology company. So I see both sides of this, but you go to a sales rep and you say, hey, what about this account? And they're like, "Oh yeah, I own that account." "Oh, you do? Okay." "Oh yeah, I own the account. We're tight. Me and the one decision maker are tight." Even though Matt Dixon and Britt Adamson tell us that there's 6.8 decision makers in the average B2B, transaction now and growing. I own that account. Okay. What, and this is a way to measure now, we're talking about measuring these goals.
Right.
What percent that when my very first job, the company I worked for had a term I've hung on to is called 100% sold. In other words, our goal is that every one of our clients are 100% sold. They buy everything they can buy from us, right? Every category, every service, every product. And so you go to that rep that's like, well, I own the account. Okay. They buy our core product. Do they buy this service? No. Do they buy this product? No. They buy this product? No. You don't own that account. What is happening is you've got at least one or three other vendors that are in there trying to take this piece away from you, if anything. And when you don't cross-sell, hey, Brent, thank you. It's 11. 11? Whoa.
Wow.
Yeah. By the way, if you get a chance, we got to talk to Brent on the Selling from the Heart podcast a couple months ago, and it was brilliant. Brent, huge shout out. It was so much fun. But you look at that and go, oh, I own the account. And no. So I think what should happen is here's metrics. If you want to think metrics for 2021, what is your customer account penetration in you too, Brent, in all of your core product areas? So you might have 100%, of your customers own your core product, 20% own, this service, 25% own this service. And Anthony, hold on to that question. We'll get to that one. But so what we should have on the wall of our marketing and sales department is our 100% sold meter. Like and there's where we focus, right? And then at a sales level and that sales coaching, sales leaders listening in, your account reviews with your reps should be pulling that same chart up for the sales for an individual account and go, okay, you don't own this account until all of these things are at 100%. Don't even pretend you own this account. But that's where we miss the ball. And once again, I love net new. I love the thrill of the kill. I love, the bringing the new, ringing the bell and all that kind of stuff. But we've got to start ringing the bell on cross-selling more to our client base. And that, to me, is the name of the game in 2021 in a consolidating marketplace.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think that the number of businesses that are going to be sold and change hands, and that I think most industries are going to face a dramatic sort of change in that way, right? I mean, that's something unavoidable.
Who are the survivors going to be? The survivors are going to be the ones that own the accounts, that cross-sell. And by the way, as some of these vendors, get, bought or go out of business, all of that, you've got even more opportunity to go into your customer base and grab more of that wallet share. So make sure you have the systems and processes from a marketing standpoint, a sales standpoint in place to drive that cross-sell revenue. And, this was the inspiration for the revenue growth engine model. It was kind of like, this may have happened, one day when I was driving my riding lawnmower, right? I've got a riding lawnmower and I've got an Audi, and, those two things both have an engine in them, right? One happens to go full speed at 2.5 miles per hour. The other, I haven't tested it, but it says it goes 180 miles an hour, right? They both have an engine. Every company has a growth engine. How many cylinders does your revenue growth engine have? And as you look at the cross-sell standpoint of your business, the question is, okay, what cylinders could we add that would increase our horsepower so we could drive predictable cross-sell revenue?
I think it also comes down to, I've got a client right now, and I don't work with their sales team. What I've noticed is, and this is a company that's got multiple divisions. Mm-hmm. They've got sales teams for each of those divisions, and so those sales teams aren't talking about how they can share clients across their different business, streams. So, I mean, I think it's also the way we organize our sales teams, right?
I'm with you, Rhett, on that. I mean, that's like an HR human interpersonal problem. I don't know anyone's ever going to solve that. However, marketing is not limited by that. So yeah, you may have, people who are protective of my account. I don't want to bring someone else in and mess it up. That's going to happen. But I really believe that, that get a HR human development guy in here, get my friend Dr. Fawcett in here to talk about work positive and get all that going to figure it out. But when it comes to marketing, just, putting the human side of, that's a different episode. When it comes to marketing, there's nothing holding you back from direct marketing and communicating the value and the outcomes that you can deliver to your current clients across the entire spectrum, right? The best and highest value. Tip of the hat to Jay Abraham, right? There's nothing holding you back from doing that. And so, yeah, let's stop pointing the finger at the salespeople that can't get along, and let's start marketing to our clients.
Yeah, I think that's brilliant advice. So, Anthony, your question was, Darrell, what is some advice on client acquisition in the overloaded coaching consultant space?
Great. Yeah, a great question. And I am also a recovering consultant. I am a consultant. I see a therapist for that as well. So how do you do that? That's right. I use one. So I think two things I would say, Anthony, and it's a really good question right now, by the way, with the consolidation of companies, people are getting laid off, and all of a sudden everybody is a consultant now, right? I mean, yeah, I mean, it is, the competition, the number of companies shrank and the number of consultants grew. So what do you do in that? I think the first thing you do is you work to find a blue ocean and become the expert in that space. So I see a lot of consultants go out and say, I am going to consult in, this area, right? And it's some big, broad topic area. Well, you need to ask what your target market is. And that should be driven partially by relationship and partially by value. So number one, where do you have relationships? And then where can you add value? And what I mean by adding value is, what are the specific business problems that you can solve inside that network of people that you have relationships in? So I'll give you a great example. So I hung out my shingle as a sales trainer in 2004. And so, how many sales trainers are out there? Thousands, right? And, and how many of them have the bigger following and all that, all of them, right? I was brand new. So what I said was, it actually came out of a leadership conference I was at. A guy named Andy Stanley was leading the conference. Yeah. He said, what are you good at and what do you enjoy doing? And I knew what I was good at. I came out of the office technology world, and I was really good at teaching salespeople how to sell workflow and document management software. That was my baby back in 2004. I happened to know a lot of people in that industry, and then now I've got a defined marketplace. Back then it was about 3,000 companies, not 3 million. I can't work with that, but I can work with 3,000 that all read the same magazines, all go to the same conferences. Now, of course, all hang out in the same social networks. I can work with that. So find a blue ocean. The second thing is make sure that you're not selling consulting. Nobody wants to buy consulting. I mean, there's not a single business in the world that wants to buy consulting. Make sure that you're selling the solution to a very specific and pressing business problem. And nobody wants to buy consulting. Nobody wants to buy anything, really. What they want to buy is a solution to a problem. And I think you're right. Social proof, then, to be able to tell that community, their peers, right? Other peers in that community vouching that you solve their problem, and then you're golden. Then you've got something you can run with and, stay in your lane. Right. And I think, you've got something you can run with. That's great. That's good. Yeah. How was that? How do we do?
Social proof is my edge. I keep growing. That's good. Yeah, absolutely. That's true. Right. So I have another question that I couldn't post for some reason from Twitter, and they ask about marketing and sales strategies in post-COVID, in COVID, in this kind of COVID economy, and with all the social issues going on. Are people adjusting? Do you have to adjust your strategies?
The short answer is yes. Next question, please. So how do we do it? Yeah, I get a little punchy sometimes. So how do you adjust the strategy? It's a great question. I think the first thing that we go, we like to go straight to tactic, but it's like we like to jump in our vehicles and start driving. But if you don't have the right gas in the tank, you're not going to get very far. You're going to have trouble. The fuel for your growth engine is your message. And this is, what I've noticed in the COVID economy, there was a lot of noise before COVID. I mean, there was a lot of email, there was a lot of commercials, there was a lot of sponsored social posts. There, thousands and thousands of messages every day. Well, we have as human beings, to survive in this economy, in this world, we all have finely tuned filters, right? We filter everything. And what's happened since COVID is everyone's turning up the volume. They're like, well, we can't have salespeople, so let's send more emails. Let's put them all on LinkedIn and get out there, which is okay. But what I say is, don't look so much at the tactic. Look at the tactic after you look at the content. And so the only thing that's going to get through my filter, right? Or maybe I should say my face mask now, right? It's like we all have filters. The only thing that's going to get through my filter is something that matters to me. And what matters to me is a business or personal outcome. That's the only thing that will get through my filter right now. Mm-hmm. So make sure, and this was true before COVID, it just is more true now because the volume got turned up. Make sure that every email message, every subject line, first three lines of the email, every social media post, every blog article, every special report, every prospecting sequence, every workflow follow-up email sequence, everything that you have, every commercial, everything leads with an outcome, because people didn't care before COVID about what you sold. Now they really don't care. What they care about is the outcome you deliver. So, go dig deep, go back to Theodore Levitt. People don't buy the drill bit, they buy the hole. Seth Godin takes it a step further and said they didn't buy the hole. They bought the ability to hang the thing on the wall, so they could impress people. Donald Miller takes it a step even further. They said, we're all cavemen. If we don't impress other people, we'll die. So go down to that level, get down to that level, and dig deep into like, what is the outcome? I recommend, Rhett, that companies, salespeople all carry around product price books, right? It's like an inventory of all their products. I think what salespeople and marketing people need to create is what I call an outcomes inventory, a list of all the outcomes they can deliver. And in Revenue Growth Engine, we talk about how to create that outcomes inventory, because that's what you sell. You don't actually sell the product or service that that you think you sell. You sell the outcome, and the outcomes people want, by the way, according to Gartner and anyone who's doing market research right now, shifted after the COVID crisis. So my friends in the tech world, pre-COVID, efficiency, scalability, all of that, productivity. Post-COVID, redundancy, resiliency, remote work, right? And by the way, just, a little, if you're a marketing person and you've done what all of us, need to do, and you've set up workflow emails behind your forms and all of that, what if you haven't changed the message in those workflow emails since COVID started? And what if your customers are getting an email going, right now in today's booming economy with record low unemployment and skyrocketing opportunity, ... I mean, what are you looking like? And so this is like, we always have to go back to the message. And I think, by the way, the post-COVID world, please, whenever that comes, we're going to have to go through that exercise again because,
Sure.
the same type of thing is going to be needed.
It seems to me one of the things that you're talking about is I have a lot of salespeople who think they buy from me, and what I would say is that they don't necessarily buy from people. People are buying the results that your product is going to. I mean, you're absolutely spot on there. I don't think you can illustrate that enough. It's not really. I think it's a lot less personal today, maybe, than it used to be.
I'm in a counterpoint kind of mood today. Can I put a counterpoint on that?
Yeah. No, I'm just wondering it because this what you were talking about really hits home. Like the to lead with how you can solve their problems. Right?
Yes.
To lead with the problems your product are how we're going to help you solve your critical problems and the results. And I think that's what really people buy, right? Are they buying from the person?
I'm gonna answer the question maybe a little differently than you might think, because I'm a firm believer that people don't buy products; they buy outcomes. Yes, however, salespeople are a part of the outcome. In other words, here's what I mean by that: a company is saying, in their marketing message, we can solve your problem and get you this outcome. The problem is we live in a post-trust world. So, it was the word of the year, I think, in 2018, post-trust, right? So we're making all these claims and people are going, yeah, that's what I want. But then that little thing in the back of their mind is going, yeah, but will they really do that? Can they really, and will they stick with me through the solution of the problem? So the role of the salesperson, I believe, is to build trust. And I don't think, there's only so much that a website and, testimonials, all those things reinforce it. But trust is a relational thing. It's a relational dynamic. And so I think it's not 100% relational, but a lot of it is relational. And without the relational dynamic, we can't, the role of the salesperson is to go, yeah, we can, it's to ask the questions. What outcomes are you really looking for? Define that for me in your business. Let's get specific. And then to build trust along the way of doing that so that the client, the prospect feels comfortable that they are going to get the outcome. And, I know, we talk about social proof and all those things, case studies, massively a fan of that. But I believe that, the people right now that are saying, oh, robots can flip hamburgers. We can, we can e-commerce and robot this thing. No robot builds trust. And trust is the missing ingredient, the X factor. And I believe that unless you're selling toothpaste, you need trust to close a deal. So, that was a really good question, by the way, and you just spurred 4 blog articles for me. So thank you.
Because it really does beg the question. And we're in this Zoom world now, right?
Mm-hmm. Very two-dimensional.
Very two-dimensional. Some of our traditional ways of sales. I grew my business literally on the back of going to conference after conference, show after show, right?
Yep.
That business is not going to recover in the same way, right? And so they're just like a lot of the traditional ways that we thought about sales, in the way I was brought up in sales, and it's not going to be the same. So I wonder how, sales is going to change and how it's going to. Are we looking at AI programs that do what salespeople do? Are we doing, it's fascinating to me what that looks like in the future.
Yeah, all of it is interesting. I had a really good conversation with John Golden. John's the CEO of Pipeliner on the Revenue Growth podcast just last week. And, we were talking about automation and all of this. And automation's great. I've spent my whole career selling workflow automation, and I'm a huge believer in process. However, automation needs to be there to, I say, really make things consistent, predictable, and make sure stuff gets done, and take the busy work off, so that, as salespeople, we can focus on relationship, and as marketing people, we can focus on strategy and listening and all those things that, if you're not automated, you're busy trying to keep all the plates spinning. So automation definitely plays a role, but it is not, once again, you can you can buy a robot to flip hamburgers, but I don't think you're going to be able to buy a robot to build trust.
Yeah, no, that's the key. I mean, you're spot on there. I mean, that's something that I think, I mean, I wasn't sort of factoring into what I was thinking, but you're absolutely right. That trust factor is essential. You talk about exponential revenue growth. What does that mean?
Well, that means that most companies are linear in their revenue growth. Not to have a physics or math lesson here, but if you're only focused on, if your focus is on net new and not cross sell, you only have one dimension to your growth. We grow 10% year over year. Remind me of a story. I had one of my clients, we were down in their office. They're in West Palm Beach, and technology company. And by the way, if you're in West Palm Beach, we do have some openings for revenue growth strategies in February, January, all of that. But we were down there, and so we're kicking off the workshop. The owner of the company's there, the VP of marketing, VP of sales, the couple of their tech people are there. We're ready to roll. And I said, okay, like any good workshop, what do y'all want to get out of this? And they said, right, we need more net new business. I said, great, we can help. What's your goal? And they said, we have goals of 10% year over year growth in our business plan. I said, fantastic. What did you do last year? I'm expecting that they went backwards. They're like 2% growth. They said, we did 9.8% growth. I started laughing. I was like, good job. Yeah. You should write a book. You should be a consultant. Good for you. And then we all had a good laugh. And I said, well, tell me about this cross-sell business. Now they had a new cross-sell opportunity. They'd invested literally hundreds of thousands of dollars in personnel, partnerships, training, all this stuff. I said, how's the cross-sell thing going? And I remember the owner goes, oh, right. Wow. Leans back and goes, it's terrible. We're losing our shirts on this, right? We have not cross-sold this except to one or two early adopter clients, and we're drowning. Okay, let's start there, because if we can keep the 10% growing and then add 10% to the value of a client, revenue per client, now we're going to compound growth. That's exponential. So it is, so I learned something from the investment world. They have a rule of 72. And the rule of 72 answers the question, how long does it take to double your investment? And you can use this to figure out how fast you're going to double your company. So you take the number 72 and you divide it by your growth rate. So in this case, 72, it's just a magic number divided by 10%. They're going to double that business in 7.2 years. Now, if they get cross-sell and net new growing at the same time, once again, you can see the spreadsheet for this. Text revenue to 21,000, you'll double the revenue in under 36 months. So, I mean, it is so incredible. It's why I get so fired up about it. And this, is what we need right now. We got to get the hockey stick going in our revenue. And I believe it's getting the cross-sell in most companies going. If you're great at cross-sell, obviously you need to get the net new going.
You wrote that book 10 years too late for me, my friend.
Me as well, right? Yes. But it's a good time right now. And, it was funny because the book was scheduled to publish it was like April 1st or somewhere, like right after I'd just gotten home from Sales 3.0. We're all hanging out. I'm high-fiving with Mark Hunter and Larry Levine and Jeffrey Hazlett and all these people. We're having a great time. And then all of a sudden, everything stops, right? And so the book was supposed to come out. So I called after, a week of realizing that this was going to not be a flu season, that we're going to be home for a while, I called my editor and I said, you got to stop the press on this. So I re-edited some of the beginning of the book, and we published it this summer. But I think the idea behind all this is what you were saying at the beginning of the conversation here today, Rhett, is this is a time where we've got to drive and thrive. This is the time where we have got to figure out strategies. You can't just phone it in. You've got to figure out ways to grow. And I think looking at these two core drivers of growth is a great place to start.
Yeah, I agree. We are almost out of time. Because that just means I have to have you back on, because I want to talk about B2B metrics and company, how to gauge success. And I want to talk about inbound marketing, and marketing and sales alignment. There are a lot of things I want to talk about. So I will have to have you back on to do that.
I'd love it.
We're not finished. We're not finished with you yet.
We're having lunch again. That'll be great.
But the final question is, what are you scared about right now, and what are you really optimistic about?
Wow, what a great question. I'm scared for people that think that we're going to go back to the way it was, that think that the pivot was just something we had to do to survive, that we don't really need to make long-term changes in the way we do things. I pulled out this book. This is one of my all-time favorite books. It's Reimagined by Tom Peters.
Great book.
I love it. This book helped me start my business 17 years ago. And I pulled it out yesterday because I want to go back through it, because I think I'm afraid for the people that aren't willing to reimagine things, the people that are going to go, yep, we'll get a vaccine, an economy will recover, and we'll just do things the way we used to. There are some foundational things that will never change, values and, all of that kind of stuff. But the way we go about doing business has to change. So I'm really scared when I talk to people, and you can just kind of see it in their eyes. They're like, oh, I'm just going to ride this thing out, and we're going to be, the answer I really sincerely believe is no. Things have shifted. And what I'm optimistic about is that exact same thing. Every time there's a shift, there's massive opportunity. So it's just a matter of seeing the opportunity, building the systems and strategies and systems, getting it in the right order to capitalize on those opportunities. So while it does, somewhat feel like a roller coaster ride where the bottom's dropping out every, 2 or 3 weeks, there's something new and new twists and turns. The reality is all of this unsettling is creating opportunities that will define the next chapter of all of our businesses, careers. And I'm optimistic about the people that are willing to recognize the change, to reimagine and move forward.
Yeah, I'm glad you pulled that book out, because about 6 or 7 months ago, I had a client, and he and I, first month or so of COVID, we were working through the challenges, and I wish we'd have been in a conference room. We were on Zoom, and we walked in, and basically he threw the old business plan on the table and said, this is out. We're on day one, and we've got to reimagine. We've got to rethink everything. This is day one. This is day one of the business today. And I love that idea of thinking about it now as day one every day, right? And really kind of having that mentality of the world's changing fast, the environment's changing fast, so we have to throw out the old playbook, and we have to reimagine it. We have to rethink it, and we have to think about it every day like that, right? And attack every day like that. So. Yeah,
I agree. And this is, you want to stay true to your values as a company. You want to stay true to some core things. But the going forward, we really do need to reimagine, and I'm optimistic about it. For the people that do, are you going to make some mistakes?
Sure.
Absolutely. Fail fast, but try, try and test and keep moving forward.
Yeah. Hey, Darrell, thank you so much, man. This has been fun.
Yeah.
And I do have to, we're not done, man. We have to talk again. Thank you for spending some time with us here on Power Lunch Live. You can look at the upcoming schedule here on the website, powerlunch.live. And until next week, we'll see you Tuesday at 12 noon. Have a great weekend. Have a productive rest of the week. And thank you, Darrell. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Rhett.